Hello, friends, and welcome into Seahawks Today. I am your host, Tom Downey, here to break down the Seahawks' needs entering the 2021 NFL Draft, which is rapidly approaching and just 3 weeks away, even if Seattle doesn't have very many draft picks. But they will be able to fill some needs in some capacity, so let's break down those top needs then, beginning with what I have as the number one need for the organization. That is cornerback. Now, yes, they added Ahkello Witherspoon on a one-year deal, and they have DJ Reed and Marquise Blair / Ugo Amadi can handle that nickel corner role. And in reality, between Blair and Amadi, or even Reed if needed, you're in a good spot as it relates to the nickel corner position. But it's the outside cornerback spot that I have concerns about. Witherspoon, Reed, Trey Flowers, the only ones that actually play real football games. And I like Reed as a number two. You don't really have a number one guy. And with a one-year deal for Witherspoon and Trey Flowers basically at the end of his contract with the Seahawks as well, I think corner is an area I would love to find an upgrade and an addition in this year's draft. I think in an ideal world, there's a great corner there in round 2, and Seattle takes him. Maybe there's not. Maybe in round 4 or in a trade down, they find somebody. But I do think corner is the one area I have the most concerns about as it relates to this current team. Now, what do you guys think is the Seahawks' biggest draft need as we sit right now? Is it corner, or is it a different position altogether? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, because this question is the pinned comment on today's video. To offense now, number 2, wide receiver. You're set at your top 2 spots, right? The DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett combination, one of the best 1-2 punches in the NFL at the receiver position. It's the rest of the unit that I go, with. Freddie Swain, I think, is a piece for you. I don't know if he's a wide receiver 3 or if he's more of he's your best serve as your wide receiver 4 or maybe even a wide receiver 5. John Ursura, Aaron Fuller, Penny Hart, Cody Thompson, those guys are not really trustworthy as far as I'm concerned. So because of that, I would love to find a wide receiver, be it in round 2 or in round 4. I think the Seahawks, in what is shaping up to be another good class of wide receivers, should strongly consider taking one. But what do you guys want to do? Do you want to draft a receiver? Get your votes in for me. 1 for yes, you want to take one, or 0 for no, you don't. Number 3 is center. The last time we did this video was actually my number 1 need for the organization because Ethan Posick was a free agent and there was really nothing behind him. Kyle Fuller doesn't really count as a starting caliber option. Now, Seattle brought back Ethan Posick on a 1-year deal, so worst case, they could start him again. But in the event there's a better player on the board, probably in round 2 specifically, I have no qualms about Seattle upgrading over what I consider to be a low-end starter. So it's fine if Seattle does not fill this need next year, because it's 1 year to Posick, it once again becomes the top need, but I would love to find an upgrade at that position in the draft. In fact, my answer to this question, your dream draft pick, is Alabama center Landon Dickerson. If he was there somehow in round 2, I'd be all for it. If you want to settle for a Creed Humphrey or Quinn Myers, not going to complain about that one either. But let me know who your dream draft pick is. Let's stick on the offensive line here now. Number 4, offensive tackle. And at this point, I'm looking more towards the future and more depth specifically here. Dwayne Brown, Brandon Shell are fine as your tackles. When healthy, Shell played pretty well last year for Seattle. But both Brown and Shell, in the last year of his deal, they're getting up there in age. And Cedric Ogbuehi, he can be your swing, that's fine. I don't really trust Jamarco Jones or Jordan Simmons as a guard either, as like a future option at tackle. So because of that, I do think you would be better served at least keeping an eye open for a future tackle. At this point, probably going to have a tough time getting one with so few draft picks. But if you found the right value, be a good selection for Seattle. Now, if you guys love the NFL draft like I do, and we do here at Chat Sports, make sure you're subscribed to our Chat Sports YouTube channel. We will be live for the entirety of the 2021 NFL Draft. And I hate watching ESPN and NFL Network back when I was growing up because we'd get to day 3 and I'd be like, cool, who did the Seahawks, who the Cowboys, who the Raiders, who they just take? Who's this guy I haven't heard of before? Because I didn't know every player back then. And ESPN would never talk about them. They talk about them for maybe 20 seconds and then go do a boring interview with a coach. That is not what we do at Chat Sports. Every single pick will be discussed, and you will know who your team just drafted for all 7 rounds, and we'll have some fun along the way. So if you haven't already subscribed to us, go do it right now. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. I'll put that link, by the way, in the comments and in the description. Number 5 for me is defensive tackle, and this is, I almost put an asterisk on this need. Because if you're not counting on L.J. Collier and or Rasheem Green to play defensive tackle, shoot, it might be your number 1 need. Because that leaves Poona Ford, Brian Monet, Al Woods, and maybe Cedric Lattimore as your actual defensive tackles. But I think you'll see Collier and Green get reps, if not outright play the majority of their snaps at defensive tackle. And I think Collier's a better fit anyway. So if you trust LJ to have a bit of a breakout year on the interior, it's not that much of a need. Poona Ford's locked up long term, but much like offensive tackle, I do think looking ahead, it's a potential need in the future. Let's go to number 6, linebacker, as KJ Wright continues to sit unsigned. Bring him back, it's not a need. I do think depth is what is the focal point for this particular spot, because Bobby Wagner, Jordan Brooks, former first-round pick Jordan Brooks, mind you. Okay, those are your top 2. Cody Barton, I am down to make him linebacker 3. Ben Burr-Kirven's my linebacker 4 or 5. Probably in a pretty good, you're probably in a pretty good spot. But that's the only 4 true linebackers on this roster. So depth is very much needed for Seattle. Now that could come with one of your late round picks, or maybe you sign a couple undrafted free agents in this year's class. I think those are 2 very plausible outcomes for Seattle. This is a team that loves to spend picks on linebackers. They did it with Ben Burr-Kirven. They did it with Cody Barton and Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner. So will they draft yet another linebacker? Get your votes in for me. Y for yes or N for no. Number 7, offensive guard. This was one of my premium needs before free agency because left guard was totally unfilled. Then the Seahawks went out and got Gabe Jackson, a move I absolutely adored. So from a starter perspective, Jackson Lewis, you're set. I think Phil Haynes, if he's ever healthy fully, could be a nice backup guard for you. If you add a center, Posick can play guard and center. So it's purely depth is the focus here on offensive guard, especially given that Jackson is getting a little bit older. And Lewis, although he was good as a first-year player, might not be fully proven. Number 8, the quarterback position. Interesting option here. Look, you're not replacing Russell Wilson. Please do not get me wrong on that front there. Wilson is not going anywhere. This simply comes down to depth. That is what we're going to have here for the Seahawks. It is about finding another option beyond Danny Etling and Alex Magoo. Like, those guys are not good. So Seattle will probably just bring back Geno Smith on a cheap 1-year deal, as they always seem to find a way to do. But if you want to add somebody like in round 7, I'm not going to complain either. Now, in general, what do you guys think is this team's biggest focus as it relates to the NFL draft? Is it the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball? Type O for offense or type in D for defense. Get your votes in and let me know what you think. Number 9 now is safety, and this is, again, a pure depth need. Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Ryan Neal. That's a pretty damn good trio if they're all healthy, of course. Amid some hinting from Demarius Randall that he's going to be back with Seattle. Even if he is back, I still think you want some more depth guys to at least give them a shot. But safety, it's a lesser need for this team. Now, there is no number 10 today because Seattle in free agency took care of several needs that we had discussed on our previous video. Running back, edge rusher, tight end. I would be stunned if Seattle viewed this as a need. By bringing back Chris Carson, by paying him Running back, cross that off because you have Alex Collins, you have Rashad Penny, DJ Dallas Homer. You're set in the backfield. Edge rusher, by being able to retain both Carlos Dunlap, Benson Mayowa, and then also signing Kerry Hyder, edge rusher, you got depth and you got starters. It's not a focal point for Seattle. And finally, tight end, by paying big money to Gerald Everett, I think they've locked up that position at least for this season.